are smack dab in the middle of World War II. I had tried to enlist at the start of the war, but I was declared 4F due to the lingering effects of malaria that I had gotten in 1932 after drunkenly kissing Frank Buck at a New Year's Eve party. I was going through an experimental phase. We still did our part. Beverly was growing a victory garden in our backyard. We both helped out with events selling war bonds, and I had become, along with Humphrey Bogart, one of our neighborhood's Air Raid Wardens. Now, one night, we were running a blackout drill. That's when we test the air raid sirens and everybody shuts off and blocks their lights so not to give the Axis bombers a target. But on this particular night, one of the houses in our neighborhood was more lit up than W.C. Fields after a fifth of vermouth. Bogie looked at the house, and then he looked at me, and he said with a disdain one would usually reserve for the Fuhrer himself, "That's Adolphe Menjou's house." Now, why Adolphe Menjou was not the most hated man in Hollywood, that was Harry Cohn. He was regarded by many as a grade A pill. I remember one time I was at a party and I saw Billy Wilder come up behind him, unzip his fly, and give the drink he had just set on a nearby table the lightest splash of urine. By the way, he quickly zipped up and didn't leak another drop, which is how he got to be known in some circles as Billy Iron Urethra Wilder. Anyway, we get to Menjou's door. Bogie raps on it 3 times and barks out, "Air Raid Warden!" Menjou comes to the door in his dressing gown and a look of disdain that could melt steel. "What's all the hubbub about? I'm trying to read." "Air raid drill! No lights!" Bogie barked out in a tone that would make a lesser man crap out his skeleton. But Menjou just looked at him and said, "I don't turn off my lights for drills. Call me when they actually start bombing," and slammed the door. Now for a moment, Bogie just stood there staring daggers at where Menjou was. And then he looks at me and says, "Follow me." And we go around to the side of the house and we find the fuse box. I figured he was just going to yank some fuses, but you know what he did instead? He punched the box. One punch, but it was enough to knock out all the lights. Well, Menjou comes out of his house and he's about ready to start chewing us out when suddenly Bogie grabs him by the lapels and slams him against the wall. "Listen, jackass, we're at war, and being at war means you give a damn about your neighbors even if you don't like them. And that means drill or no drill, when those sirens go off, so do the lights. So next time, either you put out your lights or I put out your lights. You get me?" Menjou nodded to indicate that he did indeed get him, at which point Bogie dropped him on his fashionable ass and we went on our way. And even though I had nothing to do with this, he remembered my face, which caused us no end of trouble when years later he named names in front of the House on an American Activities Committee. But that's another story for another time.